Okay, we're back for round 2. We won the die roll again because we're awesome. Let's go ahead and wish our opponent luck. Okay, as we see here, we've got all of our colors. We've got a couple of cards we can cast. Windrake into Last Slots. It's pretty decent. It's not the best, but it's fine. So we'll go ahead and start it off. Our opponent does not mulligan. Alright, so we've got 4 mana. That's pretty good, and we've got the double black that we needed. So mana's looking good so far, at least. Turn 3 Windrake is pretty good, especially because we're on the play. Also, we'll have the 4th mana for Last Thoughts. Alright, I hate playing against Boros, so that's fun. I think it's worth going ahead and playing Windrake just because we can Last Thoughts next turn. We're not particularly behind on the race, and there's a lot of things we can do to recover. As soon as we drop to Hired Torturer, the Mastiff's going to kind of stop attacking until there's some kind of crazy battalion or combat tricks. Our opponent doesn't have mana to do anything in their end step, so we're just kind of waiting on him to click. Him or her. I suppose Terranex could easily be a her or a he or some kind of world-eating monster. I'm going with the last one by the name. Okay. If these tests come up, I believe that that means that you still have connection, so that's fine. We are just waiting on our opponent. I'm going to go ahead and pause it until our opponent comes back. And we're back. Our opponent disconnected and came back. Welcoming our opponent back. Alright. Unfortunate that we lost our Windrake. We're going to take 2 damage here. That's not terrible. Riot Gear is okay, but it will allow the Mastiff to get through our Hired Torturer. It's also pretty good against Runner's Bane. Spawn of Rixmati is looking like it'll be pretty good in a minute. I think Hired Torturer is still our best bet. Definitely looking like unleashing the spawn is okay. Even with the Riot Gear, you know, matches up more favorably unleashed. Especially if our opponent is just spending his turn equipping instead of playing down more creatures to be afraid of. Alright, so next turn we can Last Thoughts if we want. We can also Runner's Bane, which we will do after we Last Thoughts in case we draw something better. So we're taking 5. It's kind of a beating. We do have Runner's Bane, which is nice at least. Alright, Void Wielder looks pretty good. Normally I wouldn't play a land until after we draw the second card, but I know there's almost no reason for us to need red. So I'm going to go ahead and just play the black. Alright. Okay, Runner's Bane or white. The white's very small. So I'm going to bane the flyer. Even if he can pump it next turn, it's not the worst because at least it would have tapped it down and prevented an attack. If there was some combat trick here that gave it +2, then that would 1 for 1 at least. But this way at least we get a turn worth of tempo. Okay, that's a pain. So we could block 3 damage here, or we could take it all. Looks like we probably need to block 3 damage. There are combat tricks that would add the 1 additional damage and such, so. Thankfully we've got Void Wielder here, which fits in really well. I should have done this after combat. I can't think of any combat. There is the red... The red thing that gives +3 and first strike does not untap, I guess, so that would not have actually been better. Okay, so we'll get this in as a 2/2. This may just have to chump block eventually, but, you know, we do what we can. We could have 2 creatures. Now, I guess these 2 creatures are not enough to block the 3/4 dog once it's equipped. He's got 3 cards in hand, one of which we know is the Boros dog. I don't like being at 4 against red. I don't like playing against white. White is just Smiley's favorite color, regardless. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay, so about that chump blocking thing I mentioned. I think I'd rather keep the Void Wielder because it can block the dog. The white can only block it if I kill like 2 more creatures, which seems a bit ambitious. That said, we get a... Doesn't this put a 1/1 counter on it? No, it just gives +2/+0 until end of turn. Fair enough. Getting in damage, drawing cards, the things I like to do. I'm going to cipher this one onto itself to not put too many eggs into one basket. Also, our opponent's about to have to start chump blocking this one, so I'd rather split things out for that reason. Alright, I'm going to pretend I have the removal spell, which is in the deck. Our opponent probably can't afford to play around it, so it doesn't matter, but... Alright, 1 card in hand. Come on, attack, I will block. Probably can't attack here, actually, yeah. Alright, so I'll definitely attack with both of these. This one is a free attack because it gives us another blocker unless something crazy happens. Probably going to chump block here. If not, he goes to 1, which... I should have attacked with a Void Wielder because he will have to chump block, so that would have been a free damage. These are the sort of small incremental edges that I'm trying to pick up on. i.e. doing all of the math every time. Alright, our opponent has to do something big. Alright, so we win the game. I guess not quite yet, but it's real close. Similarly, 2, 5, 6, not quite lethal with Shadow Slice. So instead I will just attack with everything. Like I said before, I should attack with the Void Wielder because he has to chump block. He may as well have equipped, but I guess there's no possible benefit in it, so whatever. So we have one blocker in case he plays something with haste. If he played another Traitorous Instinct, he could steal this and give it +2/+0, but that's not quite enough. And if he stole anything else, we could just chump block it. Obviously, we would die to something like another Spark Trooper, but it's rare that that's not the case. Right. So we barely pulled that one out. So our opponents showed us some removal. Museum Skin is also good against the Steal a Creature card. So I'm going to pull that in, I think, in exchange for probably Morris Strider. I don't really like chump blocking Boros forever. Is it Staticaster is also interesting. Could cut Last Thoughts or Shadow Slice for Is it Staticaster. I think I'd rather cut Last Thoughts. It's just not quite as good of a card. But Staticaster looked like it was okay against some of what we were seeing, like the Armored Transports. Boros in general tends to have a decent number of 1 toughness creatures. The Staticaster is better in Dragon's Maze than it was in Return to Ravnica because, like, the red-black decks had Unleash and stuff, and the red-white decks don't outside of combat. Our opponent's telling us that the game appears to be ignoring his button presses. That's a problem. I'm suggesting he log out and back in. I'm going to pause until we figure this out. Alright, our opponent made it back after kind of a long hiatus. Alright, how do we feel about this hand? We need to get a couple of lands. Our opponent's on the play, so we're on the draw. I think that this might be okay. It's fringe, but I think it might be okay. Commiserating with my opponent. I hope he doesn't just skip his turn. Yeah, okay, I would have felt bad. Alright. That's a good sign. Turn 3, Sealer of Secrets is alright. Balustrade Spy or Call of the Nightwing are good turn 4s. Ideally Call, but also the fact that our Boros opponent did not have a better turn 2 play is good. Alright, Windrake is pretty good. Then a Call of the Nightwing onto it. Better than I could Stealer of Secrets. Stealer of Secrets is really unlikely to get in, and I don't need extra value when he does. He's got enough. Sorry, she has enough. I could wait on Call until I've got the Balustrade Spy out, because it can attack past the Legionnaire. It's not a bad thing. Either way, I'm going to need another mana. So I will play the Stealer first, because it's more likely to make our opponent stay back to block. I'm not sure about that as a play. I could see it either way, to be honest. If we had the 4th mana, I would have more information. Alright, so. Baited out the mugging. I'd rather have the Windrake than the Stealer Secrets, I think, so. This is okay. I hope our opponent does not play another 3-drop, but I... oh, okay. Kieran could be worse. Still need another land, but it's not like we're not playing things, so this is okay. Might get exiled by the angels, whatever. Angelic... oh, Annihilating Fire. My opponent has kind of a lot of removal. Our opponent is down to 2 cards in hand, though. So if we... yeah, there we go. That's a really good card to draw. Alright, Flux Charger into Call of the Nightwing sounds pretty good, actually. I think I'll go with Balstrade Spy. Just because it threatens to kill the Legionnaire when it attacks. Alright, there goes a Trader's Instinct. That's nice. Thankfully, Trader's Instinct does not seem to work against Flux Charger. Like, our opponent could not steal the Flux Charger and swap its power and toughness. That's an interesting card. Especially in an aggressive Boros deck. It's fine in its decks, but this is not the deck I would have imagined. Okay, so we are... we cannot call the Nightwing and attack. We could attack and Flux Charger. No, we couldn't. Sorry. We could just Flux Charger. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, our opponent still does not have many cards in hand. That's nice. Whereas our hand is pretty much all gas. We don't have enough mana to to play things and attack very well, but you know, mana we'll get. That's a big guy. All right. So he can force things to attack or block. Probably gonna have to just Grizzly Spectacle that thing right away. He could make this, or he could attack with this and make that unable to block. All right. Okay. So basically, net nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so Warp Physique actually kills here. That swaps his power and toughness. Gonna opt not to swap them. I'll just attack with the Spy. My opponent's tapped out. I can pay the mana for it. I wish that I was able to keep a blue mana up for Museum Skin, but I cannot. Yeah, that Battle Shaper kind of took priority over everything, because, 7 drops tend to need to be killed. Land? Yeah. Okay, so we call the Nightwing, put it on Flux Charger, attack with Flux Charger. Or we... Yeah, I think that's okay. So yeah, we'll swap Power and Toughness. Do a bunch of damage, get another blocker. Okay. This could be worse. Prevents actually a lot of damage, but... I'm mostly just sad that we missed out on the call of the Nightwing. This is looking like a really weird deck. I thought it was a super aggressive deck. Trader's Instinct and Riot Control are not often run in the same deck. Though they could both potentially be blowouts. Okay. If I Grizzly Spectacle the Sky Knight, I could probably get in with as many guys as I want. No, just one guy, just the Flux Charger, because of the Sphere of Safety. Sorry. I hate using my only removal. It may not be right even, but I'm getting so much value off of this that I think it's probably worth it. 5 damage and an extra creature. There are still not a ton of things that my opponent could have to answer this. Obviously, I didn't expect double Riot Control. I missed that. Wow, that's... I forgot I'd milled over... I didn't see I'd milled a Riot Control. Maybe I just missed something. But swap the Power and Toughness back just to be safe or something. Alright, if the Azillet attacks, it pretty well says I have a combat trick, but I'll probably still block. I would definitely rather have Mizium Skin in that case, but Sphere of Safety is making me spend my mana, and I'm not flooded like my opponent. Notably, our opponent has 5.5 minutes on the clock, so our opponent would have to win 2 games in that time. We've probably won this round. I hate winning off of just time, but we also are winning on board, so it doesn't feel too bad. opponent may have disconnected again. I'm going to go ahead and pause this and we'll see. And our opponent's back. Lost more time off the clock, but so be it. Yeah, I'll definitely just block here. I'm okay with our opponent having a combat trick. I mean, if that's the last card in hand, then we're fine. Okay, that's a lot. I'm glad I blocked it, because otherwise, you know, enough damage would get in that it would be kind of scary. Alright, so I'll attack with the Flex Charger. I could Mizium Skin if I wanted to do extra damage, but I think I'd rather hold off. Might get too crazy here. Maybe I should have played the Thrall Parasite first so I would get to extort this time. However, I have enough spells to extort if I wanted to anyway. I could Thrall Parasite, Frilled Oculus, extort, which... yeah, I think that's fine. I'd like to keep Mizium Skin up, but I can chump block with a Horror if my opponent does anything too crazy. So yeah, this is looking fine. Gaining life is nice. I've got about 1 million blockers. Our opponent comes in again. Definitely blocking with Oculus again. Our opponent played a land. Okay, so we could have like blocked with 1 million creatures just to make sure it died. Meh. Okay, if we Shadow Slice, we get 5, 8, 11 damage in. Plus, okay, we will not have an Extort. But that's still a lot of damage. Unfortunately, we do want to put eggs into baskets here, I think. Cannot extort because we need to be able to attack. And I will Cipher onto this Flux Charger so we can get in and do a ton of damage. Swap its power and toughness back. Like I said, 1 million blockers. We've got lethal a couple of different ways. And our opponent drew a mountain, so that's it.